Hey everyone! This week I thought we'd go back to reading some real life stories, and I wanted to start with the incredible life story of Dr. Eugenie Clark, who was a scientific pioneer, and she was nicknamed the Shark Lady. Why was she nicknamed the Shark Lady? Well, let's read on and find out. It was Saturday, and Eugenie wanted to stay at the aquarium forever. She wanted to smell the damp, salty air and stare at the glittery rainbow of fish. She wanted to keep watching her favorite animals, the sharks. Eugenie pretended she was walking on the bottom of the sea. What would it be like to swim with her sharks? To breathe underwater with gills of her own? More than anything, she wanted to find out. When the summer came, Eugenie's mother took her to swim at the beach in Atlantic City. Stuffing sticky gum into her ears to keep the water out, Eugenie dove down, down, down. The salt stung her eyes, but she didn't want to miss a single fish. Constellations of sea stars speckled the pebble sand. She imagined a silvery fin standing strong on her back, slicing through the ocean current. To others, sharks were ugly and scary, but Eugenie knew they were beautiful. As she glided through the cool water, she wished everyone could see sharks through her eyes. But the sharks were only in her mind for now. Eugenie decided to learn everything she could about them. So she dove. This time into books. Whale sharks, nurse sharks, tiger sharks, lemon sharks. Eugenie wanted to know about them all. She also joined the Queens County Aquarium Society as its youngest member. Eugenie's notebooks filled with sharks. They swam in her daydreams and on the margins of her pages. At home, Eugenie's mother surprised her with an aquarium of her own. A 15-gallon tank was much too small for sharks, but Eugenie saved her allowance to buy guppies, clownfish, and coral red snails. It felt as big as an ocean in her room. The small apartment became an aquarium, a laboratory, and a sanctuary. As she grew older, many were still telling Eugenie what to do. Forget those sharks. Be a secretary. Be a housewife. Eugenie wanted to study zoology, but some of her professors thought women weren't smart enough to be scientists or brave enough to explore the oceans. And they said sharks were mindless monsters. Eugenie knew better. Her dream was as big as a whale shark. So again, Eugenie dove. She plunged into every course she could. Her laboratory became her home. From sunrise to sunset, she studied how fish grow, how they behave, and how they were put together, both inside and out. Despite all of the people who didn't believe in her, Eugenie was becoming one of the smartest students in her field. Even after she earned her degree, many still doubted her. But Eugenie's work was just beginning. Eager to make discoveries of her own, Eugenie finally dove into the open ocean. In the Red Sea, Eugenie collected hundreds of fish, including 3 new species that had not been discovered before: the Red Sea sand diver, the barred Xenia pipefish, and the volcano tripplefin. On a research mission exploring the Palau Islands, Eugenie was diving alone when she encountered her first ever wild shark. She wasn't afraid. Instead, she thought it was beautiful. In Isla Mujeres, she dispelled the myth that sharks must keep moving to stay alive when she swam through dark caves still and silent, full of resting sharks. Eugenie's daring heart grew bolder with each dive. Soon, they began to call her Shark Lady. Eugenie had proven she was smart enough to be a scientist and brave enough to explore the oceans. As her courage grew, she began to love and understand her beloved sharks more and more. But she never forgot many still believed that sharks were mindless killers. Because of their scary reputation, humans were hunting sharks all over the world. Eugenie knew that sharks weren't stupid or mean. She was determined to prove everyone wrong. Eugenie fished through her mind and devised a brilliant experiment. Could she train a shark the way a person trains a dog? Were sharks much smarter than anyone knew? They were. Eugenie was the first scientist in the world to train sharks and even learned they could remember their training for at least 2 months later. Sharks were not mindless killers. Sharks were beautiful. Sharks were smart. They deserved to be studied, protected, and loved. And Eugenie's dream was now a dream come true. I really hope you enjoyed this story. And if you want to find out more about Eugenie Clark's life and also about sharks, please click on the link below. And if you have any requests for more real-life stories, then please leave a comment below. Take care and see you soon.
Oh, look, there's a honeybee heading towards a flower right now. It looks like our cameras are working. Oh, hi there. Squeaks and I set up some cameras in the garden so we can record the bees visiting our flowers to gather nectar. Good spot, Squeaks. That bee does have pollen on its legs. Remember, bees help the flowers by carrying pollen from one flower to another, which the flowers need to make seeds. In return, the flowers make nectar. The bees collect this nectar and take it back to their hive, where it gets made into honey. And that honey is an important food for them. So by making nectar, the flowers help the bees. In fact, nectar is so important that bees will fly several kilometers each way to get their fill. That's tens of city blocks, so like crossing town. That's a good question, Squeaks. How do bees find their way home from so far away? Well, the short answer is they remember where things are. So they remember where different flowers are, which ones have lots of tasty nectar, and how to get home to their hive. Bees do have to remember quite a bit. Still, people didn't think that bees could remember things or even think at all. Who figured that out? Well, I think it's time I tell you the story of Dr. Charles Henry Turner, the scientist who changed how we think about the way bugs think. Charles Henry Turner was born just after the end of the American Civil War in 1867. As a boy, he loved learning, and his parents encouraged him to read and study as much as he could. He graduated top of his class in high school and then went to school for biology. Biology is a kind of science. There are a lot of different kinds of science, and most of them end with ology, which means to study or look at and think about really deeply. When scientists go to school, they choose one of these ologies to become experts in. And Charles Henry Turner chose to become an expert in biology, which is the science that studies living things. It was at this school, the University of Cincinnati, where he began conducting experiments on bugs. After graduating, he continued his experiments all while teaching science at high schools and even one college. But he really wanted to become a professor at a big university. That way, he could get help from the school to do bigger and better and more expensive experiments. So he earned an even more advanced degree, a doctorate in zoology, which is the study of animals. That made him qualified to become a professor. But when he applied for the position at the University of Chicago, they wouldn't hire him because of the color of his skin. You see, Dr. Turner was black, and for a very long time, many universities wouldn't hire black professors, even if they were perfect for the job. Sometimes this even happens today. Squeak says that's discrimination, the unfair treatment of a person or group of people because of things like the color of their skin. And you're right, Squeaks. It is wrong, and I bet Dr. Turner did feel really sad and disappointed. He worked really hard, and it was really unfair that he didn't get to follow his dreams just because of the color of his skin. Discrimination is really harmful for everyone. Like, in this case, not only did Dr. Turner not get the career he wanted and earned, the university missed out on hiring a great teacher, and lots of students didn't get to learn from a really amazing scientist. Dr. Turner ended up continuing to teach at high schools. Still, he didn't give up on his experiments. Even though he didn't have as much help as he would have as a professor, Dr. Turner managed to do an astonishing number of experiments. You see, when scientists finish a round of experiments, they write up something called a research paper, which explains what they found. Getting these papers published is a big accomplishment, and Dr. Turner published more than 70 research papers over his 33-year career. That's more than many professors at that time. Well, some of Dr. Turner's most famous experiments were about bees, like the ones in our garden. Back then, scientists wondered if bees could see in color. Dr. Turner wanted to find out, so he came up with a really smart way to test eyesight. First, he put honey in differently colored boxes around a field and watched to see what the bees that lived near the field would do. You're right. Bees are attracted to sweet smells because they know it will lead them to sweet foods, like flower nectar. Honey smells and tastes sweet, so those boxes were kind of like flowers to them. And that was the idea. Once the bees figured out that they could find food in the boxes, they started visiting them regularly. Then, Dr. Turner started putting honey in just the red boxes and watched to see what the bees would do next. And just like that, many of the bees started only visiting the red boxes and completely ignored the other colored boxes. Exactly. That meant the bees could see in color because they could tell which ones were red. But it shows something else too. You see, Dr. Turner kept really detailed notes of everything he observed, and he watched those bees a lot. So he knew that once a bee had discovered a honey-filled box, it flew straight to and from it, which means it was remembering where the food was. And then once he stopped putting food in the other colored boxes, the bees stopped going to them and started visiting red ones instead. So they learned and remembered that red boxes had food and other boxes don't. And that's not something scientists at the time thought bees and other bugs could do. Most thought animals were essentially programmed, like machines. They didn't think bees or other bugs could change their mind or learn something new. But Dr. Turner's clever experiments clearly showed they could. After his work, scientists started doing more experiments like Dr. Turner's, and his techniques and methods have inspired scientists ever since. His experiments even inspired whole new fields of science, like behavioral psychology, which is a study of how brains control what we do. I think that's a great idea, Squeaks. What better way to honor Dr. Turner than by doing some of our own bee experiments? There are so many things about bees that I'm curious about. Like, I wonder what flowers bees prefer. What do you wonder, Squeaks? That's a good question, too. Do they like flowers better in the sun or in the shade? Well, Squeaks and I are going to make the most of those garden cameras. What would you like to learn about bees or other animals? Maybe Dr. Turner and his work can inspire you to make some new discoveries. And if you'd like to learn about other brilliant scientists and their experiments, be sure to click the subscribe button. We'll see you next time here at the Fort.
Hello, my reading friends. It's Ani. Welcome to my house. If you like reading stories with me, be sure to subscribe and make sure to watch all the way through because I'm going to do some shout outs at the end. Are you ready for a story? Today we have a really fun book that I think you're going to like a lot. It's called Hedgehog Heart. If you have a copy, go get it so you can read along with me. Hedgehog Heart by James Antonew. Illustrated by Nikki Slade Robinson.
Here's my new friend Michael. I love Michael. His heart reminds me of something, but I don't know what. Sometimes you know a person's heart. For example, Daddy's heart is a grizzly bear. He gives the biggest bear hugs. Mummy's heart is an owl. She is so wise with her love. Grandma's heart is an elephant. Her love never forgets you. Granddad's heart is a cat. Shy at first, but then it purrs. Mr. Wilson's heart is a falcon, keeping the whole class safe in the nest. Aunt Claire's heart is a drooling dog. She gives us slobbery kisses. My sister's heart is a bird. It perches and sings up to the sky. Baby Juliet's heart is a puppy. Woof, woof. She wants all your love. Some people's hearts are octopuses. They hold you tight and are good to get tangled up in. My cousin Rachel's heart is a monkey. She is so cheeky to the people she loves. Can you guess what my friend Michael's heart is? I think I know. It's a hedgehog. sometimes it curls up afraid in a spiky ball, and it's hard to get close. But slowly, slowly, it will uncurl, and then it forages around for pieces of love. And my heart is a lion, roaring my love out to everyone.
What kind of heart do you have? Make sure to let me know on Facebook or Instagram because I'd really love to know. All right, let's do some shout outs. Today they're going out to Giselle in Manchester, New Hampshire, Bonnie in Ontario, Canada, Lila in Los Angeles, California, Reed in Leesburg, Georgia, Katie, Abby, and Matthew in Hanover Township, Pennsylvania, Riley, Bailey, Noah, and Judah in Chandler, Arizona, Joshua in California, Benjamin in Seattle, Washington, Olivia in Indianapolis, Indiana, as well as all the kids in the pediatric unit at Pedia Manor in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Hello, my reading friends. I'm so happy to know that we all get to read together no matter where we live. I hope you enjoyed our story today. See you next time.
One of my favorite parts about going to the beach is watching the ocean. When Squeaks and I visit, we like to sit for a while just watching the waves splash against the rocks and sand. And sometimes when it's hard for Squeaks to fall asleep, he'll listen to sounds of the ocean waves to help him relax and get sleepy. Most waves are like that, small and calm, but once in a while, there's a really extreme kind of wave. It's called a tsunami, or sometimes a tidal wave or seismic wave, and it's huge. The wave can be taller than a house. Tsunamis usually only happen in the part of the world near the Pacific Ocean, and there are only 1 or 2 a year, but they make a big splash. Regular ocean waves aren't usually very big, and they follow a pattern. The water moves back a little bit and then rises up into a kind of half-circle shape and splashes onto the shore. During a tsunami, the water does something similar, but it moves much more. The water pulls far away from the beach, going back and back until, whoosh, the water comes zooming back in all at once as a giant wave. Yeah, it's really strange to imagine. Tsunamis don't happen a lot because a lot of different things need to come together to cause one. It all starts way out in the ocean with a big movement on the ocean floor. Good question. Squeaks wants to know what could make the ocean floor move around like that. Well, earthquakes do that sometimes, and it can also happen when underwater volcanoes erupt. Yes, there are volcanoes underwater. And when something like an earthquake or volcano makes the ocean floor shift quickly, it pushes water out of the way super fast. That's called displacement. The water gets moved to a different place. It's what creates the waves. It's just like when you drop an ice cube into a glass of water, or even when you get into the bathtub. You displace the water, and the moving water creates waves. But when the ocean floor moves around, that creates much bigger waves than just dropping an ice cube into a cup of water. And the waves get bigger and bigger as they get closer to shore. A tsunami wave can grow almost 30 meters tall, way taller than most buildings. When a wave that big hits the shore, it can be very powerful, and smaller waves can follow behind the first one, bringing in a lot of extra water. The water can flood whole towns, covering houses, schools, and everything else for a while. Eventually, the water pulls back into the ocean, and sometimes it'll take things with it, like trees or cars. That's some strong water. Tsunamis can be dangerous, Squeaks, but we have lots of ways to know when a tsunami might happen and to stay safe when they do. Some scientists have earthquake sensors that can tell them when there might be enough displacement to cause a tsunami. When they know a tsunami could happen, they send messages to the people that live by the beach so everyone in town can go somewhere safe. And if there are people on the beach, they'll see the ocean start to pull very far away, getting ready for that big wave. So that's a clue to get to safety. Where do people go? Well, to stay safe during a tsunami, the best thing to do is to move somewhere high above the ocean so that the tsunami and the flooding afterwards won't be able to reach you. But thankfully, tsunamis don't happen a lot, and there are lots of scientists keeping an eye out just in case. That way, we get to safely enjoy the ocean. Have you ever been to the ocean? What else would you like to learn about it? Have a grown-up help you leave a comment below or send us an email to kids@scishow.com. Thanks, and we'll see you next time here at the fort.
Good morning, Cowboys. Welcome to the ranch. I'm Carter.
And I am Ainsley. Today is Wednesday. It is day 3 on the special schedule. Happy birthday to no one. There are no birthdays today.
We have 23 days left in the school year. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the Cowboy vow.
I vow to be my best today in everything I do and say, by respecting myself and others too, being kind and responsible in all that I do. Using self-control as the #1 rule, I'll make good choices for me and my school. These cowboy vows let me do what I can to achieve my goals and be all that I am.
I know what I want for lunch today. Do you? Here's our choices. Cheeseburger, sticks, corn, and fruit.
The quote of the day is, being kind is never wasted.
Hey, want to hear something funny? What is a tornado's favorite game to play?
What?
Twister!
The talent show's officially here.
Check it out on Southwest Elementary's YouTube page. The weather today will be sunny and a high of 85. The book fair is here this week. We will be showing some books. This is Left Out. It is a football book. It is about a kid named Landon. He is deaf and they want him to be the water boy. He makes a friend. The author is a football player. It is $5.99. This is The Big Game. It's another football book. Danny Owens is a football royalty. And his dad is an NFL star. He gets caught cheating on a test, and his teacher said if he does not pass, he can't play the championship. This book is $6.99. It's also by a football player.
This is The Bench Warmers. It is a soccer book. They're trying to go from chumps to champs. It is $17 at your Scholastic Book Fair. This is Reformed. A bully reforms the school. It is $7 at your Scholastic Book Fair. Teachers, please don't forget to send your attendance in. That's our show. The official Southwest time is 7:38. Have an amazing day, guys.